All right, YouTube, what is going on? It is Zaya here from Zaya&TheSteelers back with another episode of Zaya&TheSteelers, and we are back with a gunshot. We've got the gunshot back. What is going on, guys? Before we get into the episode, of course, if you are a Steelers fan or you enjoy NFL content in general and you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Today, on the talking points, honestly, we got some old news, we got some new news, we got some Zaya thoughts on things, and really, the Steelers are just like the absolutely weirdest team of all time, man, because here we are sitting at 5-3, yet it feels weird. And I know I'm definitely not the only one who feels weird about being 5-3. There are people who are probably more positive than I am at this point, and there are for sure people who are more negative than I am at this point. But just overall thoughts, definitely a weird position, weird 5-3. Just given the context of the games, given the context of what we put out on the field, but nonetheless, 5-3. And as you can see on the topics, the first one I want to talk about is the George Pickens situation. I put this first because one, I'm somewhat late on it. So if you saw my last video, it was the reaction to the Titans game, which actually had Brendan on the screen. Shout out to Brendan. I kind of joked at the end of it. We kind of joked at the end of it of like the George Pickens on the sideline. George Pickens on the sideline. Me and Brendan kind of, I don't want to say like turn something into nothing, but we were just like, yeah, like obviously, you know, you should look happier, but the media is going to take this crazily and it's probably going to be a big deal. And guys, it was a big deal. It was for sure a big deal. George Pickens, there was definitely a wave of emotions, a wave of moves, and really it was a big deal. But it wasn't. It really wasn't a big deal. That's what's so funny about it, and that's why in the last video, or my last video, me and Brendan, we talked about it and like we joked about it because I knew that this was going to be a thing. I knew that it was gonna kind of turn sideways, all because he's visibly frustrated. I guess I knew that the Steelers media was gonna do what the Steelers media does, and then of course in the Steelers media doing what they do, that affects the players, that affects George. George isn't the first one to obviously be upset on the field. He's not the first Steeler wide receiver to want the ball even. Like he's definitely not alone in this. There has been situations, and every time there is a situation, our media probably handles it the absolute worst. The absolute worst. And by media, I'm not even talking about like actual reporting people, but throwing it out there, standing on business. Blitzberg, who pretty much honestly, they do what I do, but like on Twitter. Blitzberg always like gives their takes on situations. Other people give their takes on situations. And I don't know, to me, maybe it's because I'm younger, I guess. I don't know. I feel like it was blown a little bit overboard. I feel like all of the George Pickens things have been blown overboard. But then, when he deletes all of his posts and he posts free me on his story and he unfollows everybody, it's like, I guess I see the people's points. Really, this is just really not a big of a deal, but hey, man, we're here. So I'm going to give my thoughts, my official opinions, my official takes, and I'm going to be objective about George Pickens for probably the first video of all time. The first time I have ever been objective about George Pickens is about to happen. So just before I actually do that, though, Dove Kleiman had a tweet here. So after posting Free Me, George Pickens deleted all the Steelers posts on his Instagram and changed his Steelers profile picture to one from his high school days. Pickens also apparently unfollowed quarterback Kenny Pickett, Coach Mike Tomlin, and the Steelers official account. This is following a win over the Titans, although he had negative 1 yard receiving on 2 catches. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat line. And then of course the touchdown that wasn't a touchdown because he didn't get this back foot down. Man, there is a lot of room right here to get the foot down, and he just didn't. He just tweaked. And I genuinely think this right here did it. The attention to this, because I saw a lot of tweets that like were mad at George Pickens. I saw tweets that were like, man, George Pickens needs to lock in now, bro. Like, because when we think about this play right here where he didn't get the touchdown, when we think about maybe a penalty or two that he's had, an unnecessary roughness kind of thing, just kind of losing his attitude, losing his head on the field. And people take these small situations and just absolutely blow it up. And then when you have someone like George Pickens, who, I don't really know, George Pickens, but it seems like he is at this point in life, a a reactionary kind of guy. Like, it seems like he wears his emotions on his chest. It seems like you can tell how he's feeling just by looking at him, because that's what Steelers fans do all day. And so honestly, just Steelers fans, Steelers media, and then George Pickens, just a match made in drama heaven. Now that I got the story out of the way, we know what happened. George Pickens got frustrated, maybe should throw him the ball a little bit. I am going to give my takes, all right? First. George Pickens is a phenomenal player. George Pickens should get the ball more. George Pickens is a stud. George Pickens is replaceable. That's really it. Like, because that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line when we're talking about this. When fans are mad at him, when media and fans are mad at George Pickens, I know it doesn't actually matter because all that matters is the coaches and the personnel, as we can see with Matt Canada still being there. All that actually matters is how his teammates feel about him. But Steelers fans, especially over these last, let's say, 10 years, have gone through story and player who at one point was loved. Everybody loves George Pickens. Everybody loves George Pickens. Like, let's be honest. Who doesn't like George Pickens? So it starts out with that. Everybody loved Juju. Everybody loved AB. Everybody loved Le'Veon. Everybody loves these people, right? And then slowly but surely, it just starts to deteriorate until we are all at the point of like, fuck it, trade him. Fuck it, trade him. We're the Steelers. We're the greatest team ever. We're 6 rings. Just trade him. We'll replace George Pickens. And quite honestly, this is ground zero. This is worst case scenario. Please, I do not want to get rid of George Pickens. However, I will say, if it is a free me, if it is like, man, you don't want to be a Steeler, if that's what it is, then yeah, let's trade him. I know obviously we can't now. Then yeah, let's trade him next year. And what's gonna kill me is we know George Pickens is a stud. We know if he goes to a different team, he's gonna ball out. This has absolutely nothing with his ability because obviously we all know he's good. But if it's gonna be free me and unfollowing people after games, like what do you want me to say, man? Like, I don't know, and I'm a person too, and this is gonna sound a little crazy because here I am a fan of the Steelers and all this, but I am a person who kind of thinks of this shit all day. Like, I kind of figured Chase Claypool was going to get traded when Chase Claypool got traded. I kind of thought maybe if teams were in on Deontay, maybe we would do that. I'm right now in my head just saying it now on the 6th of November. Pat Freiermuth, unless, things change, unless something crazy happens, Pat Freiermuth to me is a very movable asset. So just giving you that context, right, of me, Deontay, Muth, like these are players I've already kind of, thought about moves, right? George Pickens cannot be excluded from that. And on top of that, when we think about, valuable pieces, if we're, because if we're here, free George Pickens, if we're here, and I know by the time this comes out, / even already now, I'm sure the situation's done and I'm sure everything is, lollipops and daisies, but fuck it, man. I'm late. I'm gonna get my shit off. So yeah, I'd be like that. I don't want to trade George Pickens. I know that is like worst case scenario, but when we think about assets, when we think about our tradable pieces, Muth, Pickens, and on the defensive side of the ball, of course, TJ Minka, we're not going to do that, but Muth, Pickens, and just to throw it in there because we are talking about trading George Pickens, I'm going to say Alex Highsmith too. Muth, Pickens, and Alex Highsmith are probably 3 of our highest assets. 3 things that if we trade, we can likely get a first. Pat Freiermuth probably isn't a first. George Pickens, though, just off a big truzz, off of off of potential is a first. Alex Highsmith, you're smoking crack if you don't trade a first-round pick for Alex Highsmith. I do not want to trade Alex Highsmith. However, I'm just laying out the situation for you. Alex Highsmith is probably our most tradable piece at this moment in time, on top of his contract too. And so, with that said, if it has to come down to that, it has to come down to that. But I really don't want it to get there. I love George Pickens. But I want to let you guys know that, George, to me, it's not like, I'm done with the Steelers if we let George Pickens go. I will be very frustrated. I'm still frustrated. I'm frustrated for George Pickens. But just to let you guys know how much this Steeler fan is. Like, Pickens, if he has to go, then he has to go. Honestly, like, we're at a point now where everybody I've watched is gone besides like Cam and Boz. And so really it's just, it's whatever. But The main point, though, I want to get out of trading George Pickens. Let me get out of trading George Pickens because one, that's probably not going to happen, and two, I really don't want to. But when we also got to take a look at the offense as a whole, the offense in general, and what we're not. Nobody is getting the ball. Nobody is getting the ball. Nobody is getting these touchdowns. Nobody is lighting it up probably in the way they would like to. And maybe George Pickens is frustrated overall with the team. Maybe George Pickens is mad at the team overall. But just in general, it's not like we're just cutting George Pickens out of the script. It's not like he's just not getting looks. Although it seems that way, it really does seem that way. And I can't imagine actually being George Pickens and like you're running all these routes and you're probably tired as fuck doing all this run blocking and shit. And you're potentially, Deontay had a huge game, and Deontay woke a lot of people up. Big Deontay Johnson. But George Pickens potentially, maybe, possibly is our, I don't want to say, he's definitely like our biggest target, I guess. I don't want to say best receiver because, once again, Deontay can do all things, and I think he reminded a lot of people. So I don't want to say best receiver, but George Pickens is like the guy with the most potential, I think. He's the guy like on the up and ups, on the up and coming. We really should get him the ball more. And so I see what he's saying. I see the frustration. He probably should have got his foot down here. But he just tweaked, man, and it happened. I swear it happens, guys. And we gotta stop killing people. We gotta stop going DEFCON 1000 every time something like this happens. Granted, I know points are hard to come by, and that's it. Points are hard to come by. That is the only reason why George Pickens got flamed for this. It is that, and it is people who have been waiting for a day like this to talk about George Pickens crazily. Because they've just been like, they've seen like the weird penalties. They've seen like the maybe frustrated on the sideline. And they've just been writing it down like, yes, I can't wait. I can't wait until finally the day comes I can wake everybody up about George Pickens and he can get off my team. Like, I know those people are the reason why this turned into this. Probably the reason why George Pickens got so frustrated. But yeah, we got to stop doing this. I really would like for our media, our fans, or just everybody in general to just kind of be better, be better. I know George Pickens didn't get his foot down. And I know when they cut to the sideline, when Deontay scored a touchdown, his first touchdown in like 4 years, he looked so mad and so sad. But we got to stop writing these think pieces. We got to stop DMing them. We got to stop just talking insanely. Like George Pickens prior to this, like George Pickens for the last 2-3 weeks prior to this game, wasn't our best receiver, wasn't making plays for us, wasn't blocking in the run game. Like, we just got to stop acting like that. And it's not George Pickens only. It is every player who does good for the most part, but then has a random tweak and it's the end of the world. I understand it's very reactionary. I understand it's very passionate, very, sometimes you get too involved, you get too into it, and you hit press send on the tweet. I get it. But if you know the Steelers media and you know the Steelers fan and you've been a part of Steeler Nation for a while, the Mark Maddens, the Andrew Filipponis, the people. The people that start this nonsense. The people that tweet about this nonsense and say these bad takes. That the players see it, and that they be costing us all the time, right? Like, we literally be driving people out of Pittsburgh. Granted, you don't want to be a Steeler, then get out of here. Like, I get it. I got you guys. But I'm just saying it happens all the time, and it continuously happens. And partly a reason why we started the channel. But all of that to say, George Pickens is definitely in the wrong. Like, I know it probably was a lot of dancing by me, probably a lot of like defending George Pickens as well while killing him. But George Pickens is definitely in the wrong for this specific situation. But George Pickens is also younger than me, and I'm 24. And so, old ass man over here. I'm 24. So, you give him some time, give him some room. It happens. I really think too, and because of this, like, it has been brewing. I know it's been brewing, and if maybe you guys haven't seen it, maybe I'm making it up. Let me know if you guys have seen some tweets about George Pickens, maybe in a negative light. Like, I think a situation like this has been brewing for a while. It started brewing with the 49ers. Remember the 49ers game? He said something like he kind of got caught mouthing on the sideline. Wow, mouthing is crazy. Pause. But he was like saying something, and like the lip readers, they do what they did. And, that was a situation. But this, I think, was like I think it was maybe on like a Friday or Saturday. Like this took the cake for the whole day. And once again, this is really a situation about absolutely nothing. We're talking about Instagram posts and shit. So like, it's really not a big deal. But I wanted to talk about it. And so overall points, George Pickens, get it together. But Steelers fans, Steelers media, everybody. From the Steelers perspective, throw them the ball. From the Steelers media perspective, stop killing them. And from the fans perspective, stop killing them as well. Stop and this is going to tie in to the Kenny Pickett point, because I want to talk about Kenny Pickett because there's been a lot of slander on Kenny Pickett. But stop using other players to talk about other players. Stop being like, oh man, look at Deontay, man. He's such a class act, man. And then look at George Pickens. He's all mad. Boo, frustrated. Stop doing that. Isn't that corny? Isn't that not corny? Stop talking about Josh Dobbs and fucking CJ Stroud when we're talking about Kenny Pickett. So speaking about talking about other players is funny. But speaking of that, Kenny Pickett, I don't know if you know, but Kenny Pickett plays quarterback. He just happens to play quarterback. And I don't know if you know this, but everybody is better than Kenny Pickett. Literally everybody on this planet is better than Kenny Pickett. Like this is so crazy. CJ Stroud throws 5 touchdowns, and it's somehow, some way Kenny Pickett's business. Fucking Josh Dobbs has a solid game in Minnesota, and somehow, some way, it is Kenny Pickett's business. There are 11 starting quarterbacks from the past 3 drafts, 21 through 23. How many are better than Kenny Pickett? Let's start. Bryce Young, maybe, but the Panthers stink. How? Whatever. No. CJ Stroud? I'll say it, yeah. CJ, what's one? Will Levis? No. Anthony Richardson? No. Trevor Lawrence? Maybe, but why? Justin Fields? I'm seeing a lot of people say Fields isn't better than Kenny Pickett. They said it, not me. He's not better than Kenny Pickett. Mac Jones? No. Sam Howell? No. Brock Purdy? Remains to be seen. Zach Wilson? No. So that's 11 quarterbacks who aren't better than Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, 11. That's 9 quarterbacks that aren't better than Kenny Pickett right there. Really, I don't have much to show. It's not like specific tweets, but I kind of just wanted to, kind of like I did with Pickens, I wanted to give my take and my actual opinion on Kenny Pickett, because I know there's been a lot of footage of me just praising him because the Pitt fan in me, and I love Kenny Pickett. But objectively, I want to give my takes real quick. And so I will admit Kenny Pickett is playing. I don't even want to say this, man. Kenny Pickett is playing more bad than he is more good. I'll say that. Kenny Pickett is definitely not blowing anybody away. And Kenny Pickett definitely has some growth to do. And Kenny Pickett is definitely 25. And, rookie quarterbacks typically aren't 25. They're a little younger. And so by 25, you would like them to be a little more farther along than where Kenny Pickett is now. I gotcha, okay? Get it all out of the way. CJ Stroud, his touchdown to interception ratio is 14 to fucking 1. Kenny Pickett's is not 14 to 1. Kenny Pickett, I still think, has more interceptions than touchdowns for his career, and I think it's like that for the season. If that's not true, then Kenny Pickett, I apologize. But, we got to lay it all out. Kenny Pickett played a bad game against the Tennessee Titans last week at the same time where Matt Canada's play calling seemed to be working. I get it, okay? I gotcha. Kenny Pickett, when you're watching him play in the NFL, when you watch him behind the offensive line, objectively, this is just me saying this, he doesn't really, he doesn't really have the look, I don't know. I've seen a lot of bullshit tweets like this, but he doesn't have the look, I guess, he looks a little small out there, you remember his hands are small. So I'll admit, all of that to see the 2 gloves is crazy. Who wears 2 gloves? I gotcha. I know. I heard. But we got to finish out the year with him, guys. We have to. There's no other situation besides tanking and throwing the season where we don't play Kenny Pickett. That's just the final if and or buts about it. If we play Mitch Trubisky, we lose. If we play Mason Rudolph, we lose. And if you still think Mason Rudolph hasn't gotten enough of a chance, whatever. I don't know what to tell you, man. But if we play Mason Rudolph, we lose. We play Mitch, we lose. We play Kenny Pickett, and it is a one-score game with Kenny Pickett in the ball at the end of the game. We win. We win it every time. And so just off of that alone, Kenny Pickett gives us the best chance to win right now. Does that mean we should have taken him in the first round with pick 20, first quarterback taken off the board? If you want me to have a solid take about that, as of right now, obviously not. We shouldn't have did that. But at the same time, if we're going to kill Kenny Pickett, then we got to talk about Najee too at the first round pick. We got to keep going back. And, that's what a lot of people would love to do. A lot of people would love to keep going back. And a lot of people would love to keep going back far enough so they can tie it back into Mike Tomlin and how he's a fraud. And all he did was win championships with Cowher's team. That's if we want to keep doing it, that's where it leads. I've been down these roads before. I know. So with that said, hey, man, the Steelers suck. I don't know. The Steelers are a joke. That is what facing reality is like. That is the honest, obvious, shit to say. I'm not saying it is true, but if it is true, then yeah, we took Kenny Pickett because he played at Pitt and it was right across the street. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. That's the scary truth. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word, but that's the scary truth. If, what all these people say, what all bunch of people say, is true about the Steelers. We'll take you because you're somebody's brother. We'll take you because you played at Pitt. We'll take you, whatever. But when we just talk about the situations that we've been in, people just make up fairy tales about quarterbacks we should have. We were nowhere near Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Will Levis, are you kidding? We should have Will Levis right now because he threw 3 touchdowns to DeAndre Hopkins once. Anthony Richardson, we were nowhere near. Trevor Lawrence, nowhere near. Justin Fields, nowhere near. And on top of that, Bryce Young remains to be seen. Should we have traded up for CJ Stroud? I mean, I guess. Will Levis, should we have done that? I don't think we had to trade up for him. Anthony Richardson, should we have traded up for Anthony Richardson? Trevor Lawrence, maybe we should have did that. Justin Fields, can he even throw? Mac Jones, is he even good? Sam Howell, when we look at these names, all right, CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence. And I guess if you want to, do the thing with Brock Purdy, whatever. But other than that, Bryce Young, I know, was on a horrible situation in Tampa Bay. Why did I say Tampa Bay? In Carolina, I'm sorry. But I know he's in a horrible situation. But I'm using him as this example. Looking at these names, okay, one, we were nowhere near it. But Bryce Young's not looking too hot either. Will Levis, we beat him. What do you want me to say? Anthony Richardson cannot stay healthy. Justin Fields cannot throw nor stay healthy. And the throwing thing, that's what people say. I really don't want to get too deep into Justin Fields, but I think he's a little better than people give him credit for. But, who cares because he's not better than Kenny Pickett. Mac Jones, are you crazy? And plus, we couldn't have taken him. You wanted us to trade up for Will Levis. You wanted us to trade up for Justin Fields. You wanted us to trade up for Mac Jones. You wanted us to trade up for Sam Howell. You wanted us to trade up for Brock. We didn't have to trade up for Brock Purdy. You wanted us to trade up for Zach Wilson even. These are bad names. These are bad names. And when we think about, okay, if we don't take one of these quarterbacks, we think about free agent quarterbacks. Matt Stafford, should we have done that? Should we have gotten Kirk Cousins? Should we have gotten Deshaun Watson when he was available? Look how that's turned out. Should we have been in on Russ? Remember, that was the thing. Should we have been on Aaron Rodgers? I wasn't on Aaron Rodgers. Should we have done that? When we think Jimmy G, how was that gone? When we think of every situation, every quarterback we coulda, shoulda, woulda had, it's fucked. We coulda, shoulda, woulda had none of them. We couldn't have traded up for anybody on this list. On top of this, but minus CJ Stroud on this list, and I guess Trevor Lawrence, who are, to trade up for all of these guys would have taken multiple firsts. Who are you trading multiple firsts outside of outside of CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence? Who on this list are you trading multiple first round picks for? Who? Zach Wilson? Are you kidding me? Brock Purdy? Are you kidding me? Brock Purdy, he plays well, but he's on a super team. Sam Howell, who should we have done? And so on top of that, when we take that into account, now we look back into the veterans. Lamar Jackson, maybe even, he wasn't technically a free agent, but maybe we could have been aggressive on that. Geno Smith, who would have fucking known, right? This is the situations that we're in, and people are genuinely mad that we didn't know fucking Josh Dobbs was going to be able to start games. I don't know. And I shouldn't say it like that because really the fault is on the Steelers, team or Steelers coaches and all that. the fault is on whoever let Josh Dobbs go. The fault is on not only us, though, because Josh Dobbs played on about 5 teams before Mans actually got to play. He played on the Browns. He played on our team. He played on, I want to say he played somewhere else in between us and Cleveland. And who did he start? Arizona. I want to say there was like another team in between that, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm sorry we didn't know Josh Dobbs was going to be a thing. But how in the fuck is that Kenny Pickett's fault? And that's what it ties all the way back to, because there's just an incredible amount of slander to Kenny Pickett. And I know I just sound like, just, oh, look at him. He's so sad that his favorite quarterback sucks. He's so sad. I know that's what I sound like. But, man, can not too much on Kenny Pickett, man. That is, though, not too much on Kenny Pickett. And on top of that, who should we have? Who should be our quarterback right now if it's not Kenny Pickett? Oh, I know. Let's look later in the draft. Should it be Desmond Ridder? Should it be Malik? Should it be Matt Corral? Should it be Sam Howell maybe? Like, what were we supposed to do? I don't know. And maybe there's some other quarterbacks I'm not thinking of that were available, and we just kind of whiffed on / didn't care / oh, we got Kenny at 20. But Kenny Pickett on top of that too. I mentioned Najee. I got to come back to this 10 minutes later now, but Najee, was a weird pick, but we know he's a good player. But it's not just Kenny Pickett who was the bad pick. It's not just Kenny Pickett who we maybe reached on and probably shouldn't have taken. It's not just him, but for some reason it seems like this fan base, it seems like everybody it just seems like it's him. He is the only draft pick that maybe we took a little too early. He's the only one ever to ever be taken a little too early. Kenny Pickett is the reason why CJ Stroud plays so good. That's just how it seems sometimes. And honestly, I know we're at this point in the podcast. I've been talking about this for a little bit, but it just frustrates me, man. It just frustrates me because even when I'm trying to be objective about it, the guy has literally gotten a 7-game winning drives or some shit like that. How am I supposed to see that and then just be like, no, there's no chance he'll ever be good ever, at anything. If he could just clean up the throws, and there's been good throws in that same game, in the Titans game, he had a phenomenal throw to Deontay on the sideline. There's been good throws. There's been signs of greatness. There's been signs and flashes. We just need to have that come together. And if that comes together, then we're, I think, a formidable kind of foe. We're a formidable opponent. But yeah, with that, with all that said, take away Kenny Pickett. He stinks, right? Who should we have? Who should be our quarterback right now? And if Kenny Pickett stinks, who should we be looking at quarterback? Should we double down in the first again? Should we get a free agent? Should we, maybe wait later in the draft or something, next draft? Honestly, and this is a genuine question. This isn't me trying to be a trick question or whatever, because there's no answer. I'm genuinely, what would you guys want to do? Would you guys want to take another first round quarterback? 2 seasons after we took one? Do you guys want to take, another maybe Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts kind of later in the draft kind of guy? Do you want to do that? Should we get a free agent? Should we get a Kirk Cousins who's a veteran in the league? Should we try to get a Mitchell Trubisky signing again, where maybe, we kind of get somebody for the low and just hope? Should we do that? Let me know, guys. Let me know if you're in or out on Kenny Pickett. As I mentioned at the start of this topic, we're kind of stuck to Kenny. We're kind of there anyway. We're gonna at least have him for next year too, and so we will see what happens with Kenny. But yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking of Kenny. Let me know if you guys see any flashes, if you guys think he can be a quarterback in this league, or do we just got to rip the Band-Aid off and admit, he's just not that guy. And if he is going to be that guy, let him be that guy somewhere else, because I'm kind of sick of him. Is that where we're at? Let me know. Now, to kind of finish out the episode, I wanted to talk about our remaining schedule. Shout out to Baku for giving for just giving the schedule. I found this tweet and also his predictions of it all. But yeah, this is our remaining schedule. Starting out next week, we got the Packers. I think we can win that game. I agree with Baku with this. Could easily lose it too. I not easily, but I mentioned it at the very beginning of the episode. We're just the weirdest team. It is so hard to just predict these wins. But up to this point, we're 5-3, minus getting blown out by the Texans. And what is the third game we led? The Jaguars. The Jaguars was kind of expected. But besides getting smoked by the Texans and smoked by the 49ers, but still knew that was a loss, we're kind of in, where I predicted at the beginning of the season. And so all that to say, I think we can beat the Packers. I really think we can sweep the Browns. And so I'm going to go ahead and give that to us too. So that's back-to-back wins. So 5, 6, 7. Bengals, I will give this to them. They're kind of rolling. So would that be 7-4? I'm weak. We're 7-4 already at this point. So 7-4, I agree with Baku, but just kind of flip the Browns and Bengals loss. But it also depends. If we're home, then I mean, I guess. But yeah, right now the Bengals are just kind of rolling. The Cardinals, we should win this. Patriots, if we don't win this, and Colts. This game right here, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little nervous. I am a little nervous for this Colts game. I don't know why. I know we've won the last 20, 100 times, but they're kind of playing good, and we're not really playing the greatest. But, this is going to be in, 2, 4, 5 weeks from now, so maybe we'll look like a different team. Maybe we'll look better. But, I mean, for now, I'm going to give us that win, too. So I actually agree. I agree so far, 10-4. Bengals loss. I gave that earlier. I gave us the loss earlier, so I'll take the win now. Maybe the Bengals are home this time. Or maybe maybe the Bengals are home this time. And then the first game we're home, and so that's why, win-loss. But I'm going to take the Bengals loss now. So would that be 7-4, 8-4, 9-4, 10-4, 10-5? Okay, so wait, no. Okay, so we'd be 11-4 now. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with my own list and Baku's list now. So we're gonna be 11-4 now. And then Seahawks. Maybe. And then the Ravens. Last week of the season, they're playing great. But we know they are prone to injury, and so last week of the season / resting as well. We'll see. I guess I kind of lost track of my actual games here. So let's just say win, loss. That's 1-2, or 2-1. Win. That's 5-1. Win. Yeah, 5-1. 6-1. At the very least, 6-3 down the stretch. That gets us to 6, 7, 8, 9. That gets us to 11-6. 11-6 gets us to 11-6, baby. I really want to say I had 10 through 12 wins at the beginning of the season. 11 wins for this team, man, would be crazy. This team, this offense, it really isn't that crazy. I say this team, but we have the players and we have the pieces. It's just the coaching. It is just the schematics. It is just the actual execution of it all that causes us to look like, just the absolute utter trash we look like sometimes on offense and defense. But when things come together, when things get down the stretch, when it's time for a game to be won, typically we win those games. And so 11-6 in a playoff trip is nice. However, the goal is a singular playoff win. If we do not get a playoff win, unless there is just absolutely insane things to happen at the end of the season, it's a failed season. It's a lost season. And on top of that, right now, Kenny specifically isn't really showing the most. George Pickens he's played good. Jalen Warren and Naj, they're doing good. Our offensive line, Broderick Jones he's getting there. But just in terms of even things to take, I guess Joey Porter Jr. playing well too. Our defense playing a little worse than I don't want to say I expected, because I actually was kind of sleeping on our defense, but probably playing a little worse than, on paper, but also they come through in the clutch, at times. But all of that is what we knew. All of that is things we've already known. As of right now, if the season ended today, fam, we accomplished nothing. Kenny, we're still unsure. We don't have answers. What do we have answers about? The only answers we have is Jalen Warren is for real. And Naj is for real too. When the blocks happen, that's the only answers we have. And George Pickens too, if he can just get his other foot down, he's for real too. But that's the only real answers we have. So as of right now, we got to finish the season. If we're not going to win the playoff game, we need to at least finish the season productive. We need to at least I say that, and it's we're going to get a new offensive coordinator. So why even be productive at the end of the year? Maybe that's spooky to be productive, because then we keep Canada. What if we can't win a playoff game? I don't know. They're honestly, if we don't win a playoff game, I don't think there is really anything to take away from this season. Because we know that's the goal. Mike Tomlin, it's been a while since we've won a playoff game, and since it's been a while, it means he's never won a playoff game before. That is Steelers fans' logic. And so we got to win a playoff game. But at the very least, Kenny hopefully can play good consistently down the stretch. And for the whole game, because we know down the stretch, fourth quarter, Kenny gets it done. But just for the whole game, give us something. Give KennyPickett supporters something to hold on to. Give us something to think about all offseason. Because I remember last offseason, we kind of did finish somewhat positively, I feel like. And so we were expecting big improvements, and then we get into this year, and it's been no big improvements. It's been honestly worse improvements. Just from Kenny Pickett specifically, it's been worse. And so hopefully we can make that look better. But hopefully we can win a playoff game too. Like that's right. If we win a playoff game and Kenny Pickett looks how he looks now, then fuck it. Honestly, fuck it. Like anything can happen. If we can win a playoff game in the same fashion that we look today, that's a W. That is an absolute W to me because it has been so long since I've seen a playoff win, man. I have not seen a playoff win since 2016, and it is about to be 2024, guys. So I really think we need to get it together. But overall points, let me end the episode on a happy note. I am excited to be 5-3, and I love watching Kenny Pickett come out and play quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers every Sunday. And I'm excited to see how this season finishes because before the season, I was very positive on this team because I just thought that everything would come together, and I still have hope that things will come together for the end of the year. And so I'm excited. I am excited. I know it was a lot of negative stuff again, but that's just where we are in life, I guess. I don't know. But me personally, I'm excited. Let me know if you guys are excited. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts, anything to say about the Steelers season so far. Predictions to make for the future of the Steelers season. One last thing too before I get out of here. The Dallas Cowboys will visit with former Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant is back in the NFL. I say that to say this. Should we give up Martavis Bryant a look? And on top of that, I'm going to end the episode with this. What we've seen from Martavis in his 2-3 seasons with the Steelers, what we saw from Martavis in that versus what we've seen from George Pickens thus far. No context, no Martavis gets suspended and all that. No, none of that. No, that offense was really good and this offense is really bad. None of that. Just objectively, Martavis or George Pickens. Let me know what you guys think of that. But yeah, I am going to get out of here. That is going to do it for the episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. As I mentioned, if you enjoy Steelers content or NFL content in general, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We are on the path to 500. We are growing every day. I need to get better with more uploads. Hopefully I can be more consistent. Really though, that's really the biggest kill. Like the more I upload, the better things get. So it's on me. Matt Canada, he's a flop. It's on him. Kenny Pickett, he's a flop. It's on him. Me uploading these videos, it's on me. So the things I can control, I'm going to control them. And I'm just going to hope the Steelers will control the things that they can control. And we finish the season on an undefeated streak, and we go to the Super Bowl, and we win the Super Bowl, and we bring home that 7th Lombardi trophy. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. Peace out, and see you in the next video.